A man once paid for a black woman's coffee after seeing her card declined without realizing she was actually a millionaire CEO, the very same woman he had cruelly humiliated and fired just 6 months earlier. Card declined. Miss, do you have another one? The barista repeated impatiently, ignoring the long line forming behind Keisha Santos. She felt the heat rise in her throat, not shame, anger carefully contained. At 35, Keisha had learned that moments like this revealed far more about others than about herself. Of course, the company card was canceled exactly 6 months ago, she thought, but my personal account is still very well managed. Try this one, Keisha said, calmly, handing over another card. Declined again. The young cashier let out an exasperated snort. And that's when a familiar voice cut through the air, sharp as a knife. Hey, cashier, just put her coffee on my tab. Keisha turned slowly. Thomas Kirkwood's silver hair, perfectly styled a navy suit worth 3 months' salary for most people, and that condescending smile she could never forget. This was the man who just 6 months ago had stood before the entire board of directors and said, Keisha, you know we value your unique perspective, but maybe it's time you found opportunities more aligned with your cultural background. This was also the man who fabricated a non-existent restructuring just to fire her from Kirkwood Industries, the company Keisha had helped double in size in only 4 years as chief strategy officer. No need, thank you, Keisha replied, her voice polite but icy. Come on, we've all been there. It's just a coffee. Thomas chuckled, flashing his Apple Watch over the reader. 580 isn't going to bankrupt me. The payment went through instantly. Keisha accepted her coffee, murmured thanks, and watched Thomas stride off toward the executive corner without looking back. To him, she was just someone to pity a story to tell at dinner about how generous he'd been to a stranger that morning. He had no idea who she truly was or who she was becoming. As Keisha stepped outside, she felt the weight of the envelope in her handbag. Inside were investor signatures and contracts that would change everything. 6 months of meticulous planning, secret meetings, building something Thomas could never imagine. She paused at the door, glancing back one last time. Thomas sat alone, furiously typing on his phone, completely unaware of the storm about to hit his life. If you've ever been underestimated by people who should have known your worth, then you understand the sweetest revenge is never hot. It's served cold, calculated, and at the perfect moment. Follow our channel to see how a $5 coffee became the spark that ignited one of the most spectacular corporate downfalls the business world has ever witnessed. 6 months earlier, Keisha had walked into the Kirkwood Industries boardroom carrying a proposal that could save the company from the brink of collapse. 42 slides packed with strategy born from sleepless nights of analyzing data no one else could even interpret. Ladies and gentlemen, she began adjusting her glasses as she connected her laptop to the projector. Our numbers show not only can we survive this crisis, we can double profit margins within 18 months. Silence filled the room. At the head of the table, Thomas Kirkwood twirled a $15,000 Mont Blanc pen he'd inherited from his father. Beside him sat 5 other white male executives in identical suits, all heirs of old money dynasties. Interesting perspective, Keisha Thomas said, not even glancing at the screen. But don't you think you're overstating the company's ability to change? This is a 4-generation legacy. Legacy, his favorite word code for, we don't want people like you deciding what matters here. Keisha ignored the subtle sneer and pressed on for 2 full hours. Unassailable numbers, market projections, months in the making, bold strategies that could revolutionize not just Kirkwood, but the entire industry. When she finished, the room offered her nothing more than tepid applause. Thank you, Kesha. We'll take your ideas under advisement, Thomas lied, wearing that familiar smug smile. 3 weeks later, Kirkwood Industries unveiled a groundbreaking expansion strategy. Word for word, it was her plan presented as if Thomas had authored it himself. Within 6 months, company profits had tripled. Keisha didn't even receive a thank you, and when she dared confront him, Thomas summoned her to his office. Keisha, you're too intense, he said, lounging in his Italian leather chair. Maybe you'd be better suited for a role that matches your profile. I'm sure plenty of nonprofits would be glad to have someone so dedicated, as if she were nothing more than a well-meaning volunteer instead of the sharpest strategist the company had ever seen. Now walking through the streets of Manhattan, holding the coffee Thomas had so generously paid for, Keisha smiled for the first time in months. Not a smile of gratitude, one of anticipation. Because the envelope in her bag didn't just contain investor signatures. It held the birth certificate of Genesis Capital, the strategic consulting firm she had been quietly building for the past 6 months. 15 former Kirkwood employees had signed on with her. Not just employees, but the very best talent. The ones Thomas had fired or ignored for being a poor cultural fit. Brilliant women, Black and Latin professionals he had dismissed. Each of them carried resentment. Each of them held inside knowledge, and each of them hungered for justice. The best part, Thomas had absolutely no idea. To him, Keisha was just a troublesome ex-employee who had finally learned her place and vanished quietly. What an arrogant fool. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus Chun Kirkwood's former IT director fired by Thomas for cultural integration issues, which really meant Marcus was a first-generation Asian American who spoke fluent Mandarin and had too many foreign ideas. The meeting is confirmed for tomorrow. I'm bringing a special gift. All the internal email backups from the past 5 years at Kirkwood, including conversations Thomas thought he had erased forever. Keisha closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. Thomas Kirkwood had made the classic mistake of powerful men grossly underestimating the woman he had humiliated. What he didn't know was that every slight remark, every stolen opportunity, every mocking smile had been carefully stored in her memory. And now every injustice would fuel the machine she was building with the cold precision of someone who understood that the sweetest revenge is never rushed. It is patient, calculated, and delivered at the exact moment the enemy feels untouchable. Just 24 hours after that charity coffee with Thomas, Keisha sat in a conference room on the 23rd floor of an anonymous-looking financial building downtown. Around the oval table sat 15 specialists, the overlooked brilliance of corporate America. Marcus connected his laptop to the projector, a wicked satisfaction glinting in his smile. "You're going to enjoy this." The screen lit up, flooded with Kirkwood Industries' internal emails. Not just casual memos, but messages Thomas had believed permanently deleted, including private exchanges with other executives about cultural fit. "This one's my favorite," Marcus said, clicking on an email from 2 years earlier. "We need to find a subtle way to clean up internally. Too much diversity is disrupting our traditional drive, especially that Keisha girl, far too assertive for a woman in her position." A wave of outrage rippled through the room. Patricia Morales, former marketing director, restructured out of the company after questioning pay inequality, clenched her fists. "There's more." Marcus continued, opening another file. Inside, Thomas explicitly outlined how to steal Keisha's ideas. "Her strategy is brilliant, but we can't let someone, let's say, non-traditional, take the credit for saving the company. I'll present it as mine." Keisha's face remained composed, but her eyes blazed so fiercely that a few colleagues realized they were witnessing something far beyond a business meeting. "This is just the appetizer," she said calmly. "Marcus, show them what we found on the government contracts." The next reveal hit like a hammer. Thomas had orchestrated systematic fraud in federal contracts, inflating diversity numbers by hiring short-term contractors and temps, masking the truth that 92% of Kirkwood's leadership were white men from privileged families. "Federal fraud," whispered David Park, the former legal counsel. "That could put him in prison." "It won't just could," Keisha replied, her smile never touching her eyes. "It will." She rose, walking toward the window, gazing down at the crowded streets below. "Do you know what Thomas's dumbest mistake yesterday was?" All eyes turned to her. "He paid for my coffee. $5.80. She let out a quiet laugh. "A man who stole my ideas, made millions off my work, and fired me out of prejudice. Actually thought he was being generous by buying me coffee." Patricia shook her head in disbelief. "The arrogance is limitless." "Exactly." Keisha turned back, dropping a thick folder on the table. "And that arrogance will be the very thing that destroys him. While he thinks he's in control, we'll be dismantling his empire piece by piece." She began distributing contracts. "As of today, Genesis Capital officially exists. Our first client, Kirkwood Industries." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean? I got an email this morning." She hooked her phone to the projector. On the screen appeared a message from Amanda Foster, Thomas's executive secretary, and Keisha's former colleague who had secretly stayed in touch for months. "Mr. Kirkwood wants to know if you're acquainted with any discreet but capable consulting firms. He mentioned having an inspiring conversation yesterday with a young female entrepreneur, and he's reconsidering how the company can support emerging talent. The room froze in dead silence. He has no idea who I am, Keisha said, her voice dripping with irony. To him, I'm just some struggling black woman, he magnanimously encouraged. And now he wants to hire a firm to clean up problems he created, without realizing that firm is me. David Park burst out laughing, unable to contain it. Oh my God, he's going to pay you to destroy himself, even more than that. Keisha flipped open another file. Amanda gave me a list of clients Kirkwood lost over the past 6 months. Coincidentally, every one of them has outsourced their strategic consulting. Marcus caught on instantly. You've already started dismantling the company from the inside. Not sabotage, Keisha corrected, her lips curving into a razor-sharp smile. Pure capitalism. Patricia skimmed the file quickly, unable to hide her awe. Keisha, this adds up to at least 40 million in lost contracts. 52 million, to be exact, Keisha replied smoothly. And that's only the beginning. She sat down calm and composed like a general who had already set the board. Tomorrow, Genesis Capital will present a proposal to Kirkwood Industries for efficiency and modernization solutions. And the plan David asked. Simple. We'll do exactly what Thomas has always done, use his own ideas against him. Keisha opened her laptop, projecting a flawless presentation. In 6 months, Amanda has given me the company's entire internal strategy. Every plan, every decision, every so-called stroke of genius Thomas believes he owns. You're going to present them as your own? Marcus asked. No. Keisha shook her head. I'll present solutions that expose the truth that every one of his decisions is steering the company straight toward bankruptcy. I'll prove, with irrefutable data, that he's nothing but a fraud carried this far only by privilege and dumb luck. Marcus leaned back, admiration plain on his face. And he'll be paying you to humiliate him in front of his board, his investors and the press he personally invited to show off his so-called innovation. Keisha's phone buzzed. A message from Amanda. The meeting is confirmed for 3 p.m. tomorrow. Mr. Kirkwood wants the full board present. He said this will be a milestone in the company's history. Keisha showed the text, and the smiles that spread across the room brimmed with anticipation. Oh, it'll be a milestone, she murmured, just not the kind he thinks. As her colleagues dove into final details, Keisha turned toward the window. Somewhere across town, Thomas was probably basking in self-satisfaction, convinced he'd done a good deed yesterday, never realizing he had just accelerated his own downfall. Men like Thomas Kirkwood never understood that underestimating a brilliant black woman wasn't just prejudice, it was career suicide. And tomorrow, in a room filled with people who had once doubted her, Keisha would show them what competence really meant. The question wasn't whether Thomas could weather the storm ahead. It was whether anything would be left of his career after it. 3 p.m. sharp. Keisha walked into the Kirkwood Industries boardroom, carrying a leather briefcase and a smile that concealed the hurricane about to strike. Thomas sat at the head of the table, face glowing with pride. Beside him were 12 executives and 3 financial journalists invited to witness the governance reform he was so eager to flaunt. Everyone allow me to introduce Keisha Santos, CEO of Genesis Capital. Thomas announced, puffing out his chest. A young, talented entrepreneur I had the pleasure of meeting yesterday. She'll help us revolutionize our efficiency. Keisha gave a polite nod, plugging her laptop into the projector. Thank you, Thomas. It's an honor to be here today to address Kirkwood Industries' problems. Problems. Thomas chuckled. Perhaps optimize would be the better word. No, Thomas. Problems. She clicked to the first slide. Because after analyzing your internal data, I can state with certainty this company has less than 6 months before total bankruptcy. Thomas's smile froze. A few executives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Let's start with the basics, Keisha continued, her tone steady and professional. In the past 18 months, Kirkwood has lost $52 million from contracts once considered guaranteed. Can anyone here explain why? Silence. No, then allow me. The next slide appeared an audio recording. Thomas's voice filled the room. Between us, we all know our team isn't as diverse as some other companies, but that just means fewer complications and more focus on the job. Thomas's face drained of color. How did you get that recording? Oh, Thomas. Did you really think you could fire 15 talented employees and no one would keep evidence? Keisha's smile was ice. The next slide lit up a string of internal emails riddled with discriminatory language. We need to find a subtle way to clean up this department. Too much diversity is breaking down our traditional structure. Keisha read aloud. This was sent by Mr. Kirkwood himself to the entire board 2 years ago. That's out of context, Thomas shouted. Is it, Keisha said calmly. Then let's look at the full context. For the next 20 minutes, she laid everything bare, racist emails, recordings of meetings where Thomas made bigoted remarks, falsified documents used to secure government contracts, and most damning of all evidence that he repeatedly stole employees' ideas before firing them. And here's the kicker, Kesha concluded, displaying a strategic plan. This plan saved the company and earned Mr. Kirkwood a $5 million bonus. But it was written by an employee he fired 3 weeks later for not being a cultural fit. Sweat poured down Thomas's forehead. Who are you? Keisha smiled, carrying the weight of 2 years of humiliation, 6 months of preparation, and the sweet taste of justice. I'm Keisha Santos, former head of strategy at this company. The woman you fired for being too outspoken for someone in her position. The woman you bought coffee for yesterday, thinking you were doing charity. The room fell into stunned silence. Keisha continued. But the most fascinating part of this story is that in the past 6 months, the 15 talented employees you fired out of prejudice started their own company. And can you guess who their biggest clients are? Every single contract Kirkwood lost. The final slide appeared a dense list of companies and contracts worth $120 million annually, nearly triple Kirkwood's current revenue. A reporter raised his hand. Ms. Santos, what does this mean for the future of Kirkwood Industries? Keisha looked directly at Thomas, slumped in his chair, face drained of color. It means arrogance has a price, and that price is total irrelevance. She calmly closed her laptop. Genesis Capital has no intention of saving Kirkwood. Today's goal was simply to show everyone the consequences of building an empire on prejudice and incompetence disguised as tradition. Thomas trembled. You calculated all of this. Yes, Keisha lifted her briefcase. Every insult you threw at me, every opportunity you stole, every smug grin, all of it was recorded and turned into fuel for this moment. She walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and Thomas, thank you for the coffee yesterday. That was the most expensive $5.80 of your life. The shrill chorus of phones erupted behind her. Investors, clients, and partners, thanks to a journalist's live stream, were simultaneously canceling contracts and pulling out funds. Thomas Kirkwood, the man who once built an empire on other people's talent, now sat powerless as it collapsed before his eyes. And it had all begun with a seemingly insignificant act paying for a cup of coffee. But one question still lingered, one that would change everything. Could Thomas ever rise again after such a catastrophic fall? Or had his arrogance dug a hole too deep for redemption? What happens to a man accustomed to power when he realizes he's lost everything over $5.80? 18 months later, Keisha sat in her new penthouse office overlooking Manhattan, the city sprawling beneath the floor-to-ceiling windows. Genesis Capital had become the most respected strategy consulting firm on the East Coast, pulling in $230 million annually, Miss Santos, the Forbes journalist, is here for your cover interview, her assistant announced over the intercom. Keisha smiled. The magazine had named her CEO of the Year, the first woman of color in 15 years to receive the honor. The headline would read, How an Unjust Firing Created a $200 million Empire. Meanwhile, across the city, Thomas Kirkwood sat in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens typing a resume on a second-hand laptop he'd bought off eBay. Kirkwood Industries had gone completely bankrupt just 8 months after Keisha's presentation. Investors pulled $400 million in capital. Billion-dollar clients canceled their contracts. A federal fraud investigation stripped away what little remained. Thomas had lost everything. The Connecticut mansion, the yacht, the bank accounts all liquidated to pay fines and debts. His wife filed for divorce and took half of what was left. His children, ashamed by the public scandal, even changed their last names. Thomas Kirkwood seeking entry-level opportunities, he muttered bitterly, typing a humiliating LinkedIn profile. 49 years old, former CEO of a bankrupt firm, applying as a junior analyst. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the industry. That afternoon during her Forbes interview, the journalist asked Keisha the exact moment she decided to take Thomas down. "It wasn't when he unjustly fired me," she said evenly. "And it wasn't when I discovered he'd stolen my strategy. It was when he paid for that coffee, thinking he was doing charity for someone beneath him." "What do you mean by that?" the reporter asked. That gesture revealed his true nature. A man who mistakes privilege for superiority, who honestly believes that spending $5.80 means he's saving someone less fortunate. Keisha paused, choosing her words carefully. "He didn't see me as an equal going through a hard time. He saw me as inherently lesser, someone deserving of his pity." 3 weeks later, the magazine hit stands. The cover showed Keisha in her office with a bold headline, "The $5 Coffee Debt, the Revenge That Brought Down an Empire." Marcus Chun, now Genesis Capital's CTO, walked into her office with a mischievous grin. "Keisha, you need to see this." He handed her his phone. It was a LinkedIn video of Thomas promoting himself for work. "Hello, my name is Thomas Kirkwood, and I'm looking for an opportunity to restart my career in a corporate environment that values inclusion and diversity." Inclusion and diversity, Keisha repeated, laughing. The very words he once despised are now his only hope of finding work. "There's more," Marcus added. "He messaged me yesterday. He asked if Genesis had any open positions." The room fell silent. "He actually had the audacity to ask you for a job," Patricia Morales, the head of marketing, asked in disbelief. Not just that, Marcus raised the message. "I'd like to apply for any available role. I have leadership experience and believe I can contribute meaningfully to a company with values as strong as Genesis." Keisha shook her head in disbelief. Destroy 15 careers because of prejudice, steal ideas, defraud government contracts. And now he wants to work for the very company built by the people he ruined. "What did you reply?" Patricia asked. "I sent a short 2-line email," Marcus smirked. "Mr. Kirkwood, thank you for your interest in Genesis Capital. Unfortunately, your experience does not align with our culture of respect, integrity, and merit. Sincerely, HR." Keisha walked to the window, gazing down at the city below. Somewhere in that sea of people, Thomas was probably enduring yet another humiliating interview, struggling to explain to young recruiters how a century-old company could collapse under his leadership. "You know what the most valuable part of all this is," she said, her eyes still fixed on the streets. "It's not that we destroyed Thomas. It's that we proved real talent has no color, no gender, no class. That we built a company where people like us don't have to settle for crumbs disguised as opportunities." Patricia nodded. 15 employees once discriminated against have now become millionaire entrepreneurs. That's the real silent revolution. And the best part, Marcus added, is that we did it by playing fair. No sabotage, no crimes, just pure competence overcoming privilege. Keisha turned back to them with a genuine smile. "Thomas thought he was being generous when he bought me that coffee. He never imagined those $5.80 would turn out to be the most expensive investment of his life." She looked at the team around her, people once dismissed, underestimated, humiliated by men like Thomas, now running one of the most successful firms in New York. True revenge was never about destroying Thomas, Keisha said. It was about building something he could never imagine. Proving that when you underestimate the right person, you don't just lose talent, you create the people who will replace you. That evening, Keisha walked past the café where it had all begun. The same cashier was there, and he recognized her instantly from the Forbes issue displayed on the counter. "Ms. Santos, it's such an honor to have you here," he said, clearly impressed. She ordered her usual, a large latte with an extra shot of espresso. When it came time to pay, she handed over her limitless black card. "Payment approved," the cashier announced with a smile. Keisha took her cup, looking around. No arrogant executives paying for her with pity. No humiliation disguised as charity. Just a black woman, the CEO of a $200 million company, proving every single day that the sweetest revenge isn't taking someone down, but rising so high they can never reach you. If this story inspires you to never accept less than what you deserve, follow this channel for more stories that prove underestimating the right person isn't just unfair, it's the most expensive mistake anyone can make. Because while some people buy coffee with pity, others build empires with justice.